It's already working. Go na.
I
Wait,
will
move a bit. Turn a bit so that they won't see me. Oh,
go to insects.
louder.
Go to insects, and I'm in adoptedmind.com. This is my favorite game. And I can move my monster. Just press on this. Move your monster. These are my badges. And B. I don't know what is this. So, is it B1? That's a good noise. Really good noise here.
Yeah. Everyone can hear you.
On the adopted noise.
Watch the video to unlock the quiz.
You can go to social studies. Ocean. For an ocean.
Beb, yung anak mo na nagla-live stream. May anak na nagla-live stream.
Oh?
Sa YouTube. Oh.
Sa account niya?
Keep beating.
Kala ko sa account niya.
Sa beating.
Kaya nga, ibig sabihin yung account niyang YouTube talaga.
Mommy, watch my live stream.
Okay.
Watch my live stream.
Wow, are you a gamer?
Watch my live stream.
Oh yeah, mommy will be seeing if I'm going to sit there.
Corals.
You show everyone what they're doing.
Core. Mom, are you watching my live stream?
Yes.
Watch the video to unlock the quiz.
Hello, this.
Go, love, go!
Vivid colors can be seen in tropical ocean waters around the globe. Beyond their brilliant appearance lies a hidden significance. Coral are animals. Though they may look like colorful plants, coral are in fact made up of tiny animals called polyps. These invertebrates can range from the size of a pinhead to a bit larger than a basketball. Each polyp consists of a soft, sack-like body topped by a mouth covered in stinging tentacles. To protect their soft bodies and add support, the polyps secrete limestone skeletons, or calicles. Corals are megabuilders. Polyp calicles connect to one another, creating a colony that acts as a single organism. As colonies grow over hundreds and thousands of years, they join with other colonies and become reefs that can grow to hundreds of miles long. The largest coral reef is Australia's Great Barrier Reef, which began growing about 20,000 years ago. Coral reefs are some of the most diverse ecosystems on
That
Earth.
is in the beating vlog.
Though they cover less than 1% of the ocean floor,
It's yung video vlog, di ba?
coral reefs are home to 25% of
What is
all
that?
marine creatures. It's been estimated that up to 2 million species inhabit coral reefs, rivaling the biodiversity of the rainforest. The reefs provide rich habitat that helps protect young fish as they grow. Coral are translucent. Coral
Mama, you
reefs get their
watching?
rainbow of colors from
Back in the
algae
watching.
or zooxanthellae
Mom,
that
you have
live
to
in the
comment.
tissue.
Comment.
Though corals use their tentacles to capture some food, most of their food comes from the algae they house. When coral becomes stressed by
My favorite
pollution or
game.
other factors, they evict their algae. Coral bleaching results revealing corals' white skeletons.
White skeleton.
Coral provide a window to the past. As coral grow, their limestone skeletons form layers, similar to tree rings, that vary in composition and thickness based on ocean conditions at the time. With some coral reefs growing for thousands or even millions of years, scientists can study these layers to reveal what the Earth's climate may have been like in the ancient past. Unfortunately, climate change is putting corals' future in danger, along with the millions of species that inhabit the reefs and the 500 million people that rely on reef fish for food. Warming waters result in prolonged coral bleaching that kill coral reefs or leave them vulnerable to other threats. Without significant action on climate change, our oceans could lose many of their colorful reefs by the end of the century.
Let's send it to Bleaching vlog.
Okay, pa. Wow. Seen it? Comment, Daddy. Comment.
Answer the question
to get the
star.
Why are you looking here kasi?
I saw
You
this.
can go here if you want to see the comments. Go here. And you show it there so that it will show over there. Oh, hello po.
Hi.
Say hi to everyone you're watching. And then go back here. Go to your adaptive mind.
Correct.
You got the badge.
Look at the corals. Look at the corals. Corals so funny.
Earn more stars to customize your badge.
Andun ka.
Why?
Daddy.
Ow. The Great Barrier Reef.
Wow, that is so beautiful, isn't it, sweets? We're looking at pictures of a coral reef, a rocky piece of ground in the ocean that's made of and home to animals called coral. I wonder if this is the Great Barrier Reef. That's the
Great
biggest
Barrier
coral reef in the entire world. It's in the ocean near the country of Australia. See these parts of the picture? Those are the coral. You're right, Squeaks. Coral looks a lot like plants, but they're not. Coral are small animals that make and live in a hard, rocky material. Instead of moving around like most animals, they attach to the rocks and stay there for the rest of their lives. That's why they might seem
Mom,
like plants
are
at
you
first,
still
because
in the
plants don't
live?
move around either. One
Are you
small
still
part of a
comment-
coral
Are
reef
you
can
still
have
commenting?
thousands of coral all living together. Millions of coral over thousands of years have made the Great Barrier Reef. This huge reef is about 2,300 kilometers long. That's so long that if you could drive along it in a car, it would take you almost an entire day and night. Like all coral reefs, the Great Barrier Reef is home to lots of other kinds of animals too, big and small. Take, for example, the dugong. These big animals eat plants. Lots of plants. Dugongs spend their whole day looking for and grazing on the seagrasses that grow on coral reefs like the Great Barrier Reef. If the reef didn't exist, these gentle giants wouldn't have enough to eat. Other animals need the rocky coral reef so that they have a safe place to live, like Moray Eels. They might look fierce and dangerous, but they're really very shy. So they spend most of their time hiding in caves and spaces in the reef. Yes, Squeaks, just like you're hiding behind this desk. Other animals use the coral reef to hide in a different way, like the cuttlefish. Cuttlefish can change the color of their skin, so they look a lot like the coral reef. That helps the cuttlefish hide from other animals that want to eat them. The Great Barrier Reef is an important place for all these animals, and it's an important place for people too. The reef helps protect Australia from the strong waves that storms churn up from the water. We can also make some types of medicine using the plants and animals that live there. But the ocean is changing, and that means changes for the Great Barrier Reef too. Some things people do, like use too much electricity, make the world get a little warmer, including the oceans. As the ocean gets warmer, coral can have a hard time getting enough food. And with fewer coral, the animals that live around them have a harder time finding enough food too. Another problem is pollution in the ocean. Chemicals, litter, and other kinds of waste that can eventually make their way into the water and hurt the animals that live there. But people are working on ways to help the animals that live on and around the reef to stay healthy, like learning how to keep pollution from getting into the ocean. And there are things that we can do to help too, no matter where we live. For example, things that go down drains in our sinks or bathtubs can sometimes end up in the ocean. We can help keep the ocean clean by only putting things we're supposed to down the drain. We can also make sure trash ends up in the garbage can or recycling bin where it belongs, which helps keep it from getting into rivers or the ocean. There are lots of awesome living things in the ocean, and if everyone works together, we can help keep them healthy. Thanks for joining us. If you want to keep learning and having fun with Squeaks and me, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you next time here at the Fork.
Why is the Great Barrier Reef
Correct.
Answer the question to get the star.
Great? Now customize your badge. This one is so cute and funny. Can coral reefs survive climate change? Like this one. Eee!
This episode is sponsored by Dropbox. Your body is about 2/3 water. Earth's surface is about 2/3 oceans. This is not a coincidence. All of our lives began in water. Every plant and animal living on dry land today can trace its family tree back to the sea.
Mom, can I see
Each of
your
us,
screen?
in every salty cell of our bodies, are a bit of the ocean that grew legs, walked up on shore, and learned to build sports cars, skyscrapers, and spaceships. But in taking over the land, we've put a lot of extra carbon in the air, and that's having serious effects on our planet. But much of that change isn't happening in the atmosphere. It's in the oceans. And for one colorful group of creatures, that could spell disaster. Coral reefs. Can they survive climate change?
Mom, your comment is on the screen. Look. Right there.
Animal, vegetable, and mineral. Coral reefs are a little hard to classify because They're kind of all three. The animal bits come in the form of tiny invertebrates called polyps that use tentacled arms to feed on plankton and other small sea creatures. But living inside each polyp are single-celled plant-like algae. These can make up as much as a third of the polyp's body, and they're what give coral reefs their colors. These organisms have a sort of cooperative living arrangement called symbiosis. During photosynthesis, the algae consumes the polyp's waste CO2 and in return burps out oxygen and nutrients to feed its host. The coral says thanks by giving the algae a nice, safe place to live inside its own body. Together, massive colonies of these symbionts secrete calcium carbonate exoskeletons, and that builds up the multicolored megastructures that we call coral reefs. Marine biologist Sylvia Earle called coral reefs the jeweled belt around the middle of the planet. Because they rely on photosynthesis, we mostly find them anchored between the tropics, where Earth receives the most sunlight. Unfortunately, thanks to the extra carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases we've pumped into the atmosphere, more and more of that sunlight's heat is being trapped in Earth's atmosphere. But most of it hasn't stayed there. Since 1955, 90% of the atmosphere's excess heat has been absorbed by the oceans. In addition to all that energy, it's estimated that oceans have soaked up half of all CO2 emissions since the Industrial Revolution. And it's not like a bubbly soda. Instead, much of that CO2 gets chemically converted into acid. If climate change is stressing you out, you're not alone. These warm waters, acidic conditions, and increased pollution are straining the delicate symbiotic relationships between algae and their coral hosts. And many coral are just kicking their colorful roommates to the curb. Now, ejecting the algae leaves reefs looking rather blah, colorless. So the phenomenon is called coral bleaching. Bleaching leaves polyps without nutrients and susceptible to disease. If it lasts long enough, the coral will die. Losing coral reefs would mean losing the most diverse ecosystems that our planet has to offer. Even though they cover just 0.1% of the ocean floor, reefs provide a home to 1/4 of all ocean species. In some tropical reefs, 1,000 different species can live in a single square meter. In many places, this change is already happening. Half of all tropical reefs have disappeared in the past 30 years. And if the ocean continues to get warmer like it is today, coral may die off completely by 2050. It's reefer madness out there.
Coral.
Right now, we're changing the planet faster than coral can adapt, but there is hope. Some scientists from Australia and Hawaii have figured out how to breed coral in the lab. And similar to how farmers cross plants to select for bigger fruit or drought resistance, they think they can accelerate the evolution of polyps and their algae accomplices to create stress-resistant supercoral. We've changed a lot since our ancestors left the shore, but from the air we breathe to the water within us, each of our lives is still connected to the ocean. Helping coral will help us all. That way, next time we take a visit to where we came from, looking for sea life, there will still be life to see. If you want to learn more about climate science, we've got a bunch of other great videos here on It's Okay to Be Smart. And coral's not the only thing being put at risk by our changing climate. Check out the rest of the Hours to Lose campaign, and you'll find out a bunch of different ways that climate change is already impacting all of our lives. Stay curious. This episode was sponsored by Dropbox. No matter what you create, whether you write it, draw it, mix it, or test it, Dropbox makes it simple to work the way you want. That's why over 400 million people around the world use Dropbox to work together on any file with anyone from anywhere. Dropbox, all yours. Hello, I'm Dr. Joseph Hansen, PhD. The following video about placebos has been scientifically proven to cure viewers of boredom, fatigue, dad bod, Star Wars overhype, chronic back pain, and a host of other common ailments. Now, open wide, it's time for science.
Coral, why would losing coral reefs be harmful to the planet?
Why would losing coral reefs be harmful to the planet? Coral reefs
provide food for
Coral
many
reefs
countries.
provide a home for thousands of ocean species.
Coral reefs create waves and currents.
Humans need coral reefs to see on vacation.
Correct.
Correct.
Decorate. To change this silly. This one is great. All the blue cocoons. Let's see this. Hey, yeah, that's a star. It really hurts. Oh,
Off the northeast coast of Australia, a line of surf rises out of the Pacific Ocean. Beneath the water's surface, creating breaking waves, is the most magical marine environment on Earth. The
you can
Great
see your hand,
Barrier
Dad.
Reef.
You can see your hand.
It's a place so unique that it's classified as one of the world's 7 natural wonders. Stretching for over 1,000 miles along the tropical coast of Australia, is the largest living structure on the planet. Made up of almost 3,000 different reefs, there is more life in this area than anywhere else on Earth. Many of the creatures here are beautiful, while some look straight out of science fiction. And others downright deadly. It is an amazing, ever-changing, natural miracle. The Great Barrier Reef is the world's largest coral reef ecosystem, and it's home to the most extensive amount of diverse marine life. The sheer numbers of creatures that live here make the reef as hectic as any human city, with the rhythm of an almost never-ending rush hour. This incredible ebb and flow of life goes on and on, continuously throughout the reef. It may be hard to believe that such a huge solid structure hasn't always been here. But compared with the rest of Australia, this reef is very young.
It's done. We'll just make it.
What is true about the Great Barrier Reef? It is the largest living structure on the planet. It is in the United States. It is very small. It does not contain living creatures.
Correct.
Oh, we colored the coral. Pink is my favorite color, so I want to choose pink and purple. Pink and purple. something. I will go to
Marie Curie said, "Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood."
Glitching, 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 Look at my monsters, how beautiful. It's so beautiful. Dad, how can I stop live?
Say goodbye na. You're going na.
Goodbye. Goodbye. I'm gonna.
Never mind.
Yep. Bye bye.